I made it to a second show. Can you believe it? They let me come back.
Because Tim Hardaway was trying to take your spot last
I
week.
know, man. Tim was a hell of a guest. Welcome, everybody, to What's Up, Cuz. I'm your host, Jason Palmer. Joining me again as a guest host this week is my cousin, Lance Irvin. Cuz, what's up?
Ain't nothing happening, cuz. Just happy to be here. Blessed to see another day on this earth. That's all. But happy to be spending time with my cousin for sure.
Hey, man. I heard you had to go get a shot earlier today, man.
Man, you know, Jay, I was running around with my daughter Brooklyn like I was like 21, 22. So I've been running like 8 miles a week, some days 14 miles a week. I had to get 2 cortisone shots. But because I'm tough, I said I was going to show up and do the show with you today.
Oh, so you got cortisone shots. Okay. You know, I ain't know what kind of shots you got. I just heard you had getting shots. I like, man, maybe I had to call his wife. I had to call cousin Paula and find out what kind of shot this man.
Don't see, try to get something started.
So okay, so
Paula might be calling you now, though.
I know, right? I better keep the phone on vibration radio. Yeah, I wasn't sure, man. Well, you know, you see, last week you were talking all that stuff. You were running all these crazy exercises. I told you, I do 30 sit-ups. I do some push-ups. I do a little bit of curl. I ain't out there trying to prove I'm Hercules no more, man.
It's not trying to prove. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. I do the 60-40s. Then I lift some weights because I have to look. I have to look like I'm in shape because I have to wear those little skinny suits that these coaches wearing these days. So my daughter Brooke is like, Daddy, those suits too baggy. Then some of my players like, Coach, no, Coach, you can't wear those suits. So I had to be able to fit my skinny suits.
Wow. Okay. Well, hey, you do what you got to do. Well, now, for those of you who missed of last week, welcome. This is What's Up, Cuz. We are doing this together with the Chicago Crusader Newspaper. You can always visit them at www.chicagocrusader.com. They are the oldest weekly African-American newspaper in the city of Chicago, and they are partnered with us to present this show to you every Monday night from 6 to 8 p.m., and we thank you all for joining us. And last week, our opening show, we had over 600 people join us live, Lance. 600.
I am happy. I thought it was a great show. I appreciate Cootie Simmons coming on, Quitman Diller, and Tim Hardaway. And I thought they all were great, just talking about basketball, South Side, West Side, talking about the pros. And I thought Tim Hardaway really dropped some nuggets when he said he almost broke his family up due to the fact he was pushing his son so hard. And I even did a double take on that, Jay. I was like, but that was great. Great show.
Right. I thought Tim's comments were unbelievable and really needed to be heard. You know, myself as a sports official, I'm out at games. I've ref basketball, I ref volleyball and water polo, and I've heard the comments come from the stands, not directed towards me, but directed toward people's own children. And, you know, I do think we're kind of evolving as a society, and people are starting to understand you can do damage to your kids. You know, you think you're supporting them, but you're actually damaging them with some of the behavior that's going on in some of these athletic contests.
Yeah, especially at an early age. I think when you're a parent and you just constantly yelling at your son or daughter when they're like 8, 9, and 10 years old, I don't think that's really helping them. But I grew up where my father, Pops, rest in peace, you know, he would never yell like that. He would always say, son, just have fun. Or Byron McLance, just do the best that you could possibly do. So I think, you know, you need to be positive because kids just figuring out if they really want to play a sport, whether it's basketball, baseball, soccer, you know, you have to be positive. It's a point in time to get on them, but at that early age, not sure about that.
Got you. Well, once again, it was a really, really good show last week. We got a lot of good feedback, and we got poll results from last week. Remember our poll question last week?
Yes, sir. What was the votes? I want to hear this. I know basketball probably is number one, but let me hear what you're going to say.
So let's see here. So last week we asked the question, what sport are you looking forward to coming back the most? And your options were basketball, football, baseball, and hockey. And I have the results right here on my yellow legal pad, Lance.
We need to get you a better legal pad.
Hey, man, it's even used for a lot. So last week, our top vote getter. Now, this thing was closer than you may have thought, but The top vote getter was basketball. 39% of the people said they're looking forward to basketball coming back. Speaking of the NBA and their playoffs and in their regular season. Coming in second place was baseball with 33%. So they were only 6 percentage points behind basketball. Now, here's the shocker, especially since this is mostly an African-American audience. Hockey finished third.
Ooh, that's a shocker. That's your sport right there. That's your sport. That's
Lance, I'm making inroads. I'm making inroads in the community. Hockey finished in third place with 22% of the vote. Can you believe that?
You are an influencer. I tell you, that's your new nickname. Influence people to go watch hockey.
Okay, that's my new nickname. I'm gonna be the black hockey influencer. There you go. And then coming in fourth place with only 6% was football. Now, I thought that was quite interesting because football is the most popular sport. But according to our poll, only 6% of the people who respond to our poll are looking forward to football coming back. Why do you think perhaps that is, Lance?
You know what? I think people really don't think that they're going to play because of all the contact and stuff. And it is a couple of months out where basketball is starting right now. Baseball is starting right now. Hockey is basically starting right now. So I think it's a couple of months off. But that's a tough sport. And especially with COVID going on, Jay, I want to see with the physical contact. How is that going to work?
Yeah, I think that's probably my biggest concern about football is how do you play it safely during these times? I personally don't think you can. I think they're going to try to come up with every way possible on the NFL level because there's just so much money involved. But I don't see it happening. But perhaps that was the reason why. But those are the results of the poll. So, way to go, hockey. We finished in third. We're making inroads. So, just kind of going forward here and just looking forward. We're going to have Joseph Phillips coming on here in just a few minutes. We'll know when he's ready to come on here in a few to get ready to talk what he's got going on with the Chicago Crusader. But kind of the other big news of the day was what's going on up there in Toronto with Major League Baseball set to start Thursday night with first regular season games. Man, Toronto is in trouble. They don't have a stadium to play in.
No home stadium, Jay. I mean, that's tough. Canada basically told them you cannot play in your home stadium. What's your thoughts on that? I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, thankfully, I've never been kicked out of my home before, so I don't know what that's like. But in all seriousness, this is a problem for Major League Baseball. The Canadian government, came out and told Toronto, no, you can't play here in the Rogers Center. You're going to have to find somewhere else to play. So they're scrambling. But it sounds like just before we went on the air, there's going to be a deal cut in Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh ownership is talking to the Toronto ownership. It looks like they're going to be able to play in Pittsburgh.
Man, because when I heard last night, they said Buffalo. And then I was reading earlier today, and some of the players was like, stop it. We're not playing in Buffalo. We're not playing in a minor league stadium because of the lighting. They said the clubhouse wasn't big enough, so you couldn't really social distance. So, I mean, I understand what those guys were saying, but it's tough when you get kicked out of your home stadium.
Isn't it though? So once again, everyone, if you're watching at home, don't forget, download the SportsZone Chicago app. Okay, you can download it on iTunes. You can download it on Amazon. You can download it on Google Play. That is the main thing we really want you to do. Download that app, SportsZone Chicago, to really help us out. You can also watch us live right now on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, SportsZone Chicago. Is all you got to do is once you go to the YouTube page, and please go ahead and subscribe to that. That'll bring in even more people. That'll help us bring you more content going forward. We're going to be bringing you some great guests here in the weeks coming forward, but go ahead and subscribe to us so you can catch all the shows that come on our network. We're going to have Eugene McIntosh coming up later on today from the show. His show, The Bigs, it airs on SportsZone Chicago. We've also got Bean Guillen featuring Ozzie Guillen Jr. Man, that dude can talk. We're going to have him coming on here in a couple of weeks to talk some White Sox baseball. We got our boys, the Humidor Sports Show, the Cigar Fellas.
Love those guys. Those guys are great.
They are crazy, man. They're the only people I know who can smoke cigars and drink liquor on their show. And there's no problem.
Not us, but Jay, I have a question for you, buddy.
What's up?
All I have, 1.8 million.
Wow.
What does 1.8 million mean to you? LeBron James rookie card.
Wow.
LeBron James rookie card. 1.8 million.
That's nice. That's nice.
That's more than nice.
That's real nice. We're going to come back to that because I want to bring Joseph on real quick, and then we got our first guest, who's a real special guest, who we also got coming on. So, guys, we got a jam-packed show for you. We got Julian Green coming on from the Chicago Cubs. We've got Bob Kendrick coming in from the Negro League Museum. He's come in for a few minutes to talk to us about some stuff. But let's go ahead. Let's bring in Joseph Phillips from the Chicago Crusader. Joe, are you there?
Yes, sir. How you guys doing?
What's up, Joe? What's up, cuz?
What's up, cuz?
Cuz, my man Joe is here. And he looks like he's wearing like a NASA sweatshirt, hoodie kind of thingy, or I don't know what that is.
It's just the astronaut, man. I'm on my spaceship, space cowboy type trip today.
Got you. Well, Joe, we got a couple of subjects we want you to talk about. We also want you to stay tuned when Bob comes on in a few minutes too. I'd love to have you stay on for that. Okay.
Sure, no problem.
All right. So quickly, tell me, what have you got coming up in the Chicago Crusader coming up this week? I know you got a couple of big stories. Tell me a little bit about the first one.
Well, the first story that I have is about the Chicago Cubs and the Marquee Network to actually close a deal with Comcast pretty soon. I believe to close, I guess, in the beginning of the season. So that was the goal, according to General Manager Mike McCarthy. He said that they're confident the Cubs will be on Comcast. So be looking out for that. He also mentioned that there's a little time left before opening day, and he said it's closing in on us. And he says we are very aware of that. We remain confident that a deal will be made. So tune in and look into that pretty soon. In addition to that story, as we all know, Allen Robinson, he's looking for a contract extension. And you know, with the Bears, sometimes they don't like to do business, in the beginning of the season. They like to take care of business at the end of the season. So he's still looking for a contract extension after a 3-year deal that is recently about to expire. And in addition to the Allen Robinson story, Yohan Moncada, who tested positive for COVID-19 a few weeks ago, returned to White Sox training camp. And you just get a few blurbs on that. Just talk about, what manager Rick Renteria said about his return and how happy he was to add him back into the lineup and the impact that he would have short-term and long-term. So those are the 3 stories that I'll be focusing on this week in the Chicago Crusader.
Gotcha. Lance, you texted me last night trying to find the game, right? You were trying to watch the Sox Cubs game. Maybe you should ask Joseph about the Marquee Network.
Hey, Joe, please talk about the Marquee Network. See, Jason is always telling my business. I couldn't find the game for about 5 minutes, Joseph.
Right. So just to let you know, this is a report from the Chicago Sun-Times reporter Jeff Argus. He says McCarthy, who previously was president of the MSG Network in New York, knows all about carriage talks, but he wouldn't reveal much regarding the ones that affect a lot of Cubs fans, except to say he's confident the deal will be done. So the Cubs Marquee Network will be very similar to the Yes Network with the New York Yankees. You guys agree with that. And as you know, that network generate a lot of revenue for the Yankees, where they didn't have to really do a lot of revenue sharing. Mm-hmm. And that's how they were able to go after some of the big name free agents and become, I guess, the kings of Major League Baseball, 27 World Series championships, because of their additional revenue streams through the Yes Network. So the Cubs, on the other hand, they decided to go that route with the Marquee Network. And this is going to provide unlimited resources for us so that we can go after the big boys in the near future, including restacking our farm system with guys like Christian Hernandez, Ed Howard, etc. So we're going big market all the way. It's just a matter of time of them closing the deal with Comcast.
Gotcha. Okay. Sounds good. So for all you Cubs fans out there, hang in there. Marquee Network will be coming to Comcast. I'm personally a YouTube TV person. I cut the cord, and I don't have it either. So it'll be interesting to see how many platforms they can get it on. But guys, are you all ready for our first guest?
Oh, I'm ready.
I got a really, really special guy coming on here for our community. So for those of you who have not been down there in Kansas City, the Negro League Museum is a place you have got to visit. It has got to be on your bucket list. It is an incredible destination. You have to get there, learn all about the Negro Leagues, who are celebrating their 100 years. 100 years they were invented, and we're supposed to be doing a big celebration for it all throughout the Major League Baseball season. But of course, the pandemic is hit, but they are still going to do some celebrations around the country about it. And here to talk to us about it is the president of the Negro League Museum down in Kansas City, Bob Kendrick. Bob, welcome to What's Up, Cuz. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, fellas? Thanks for having me, man. It's great to see you guys.
Bob, I'm happy to see you, Bob. I have my Negro League hat right here too, Bob. I'm gonna put it on just for you.
Now, see, Bob, you know how it is in the Black family, man. You know how cousins always trying to rib you, right? So this dude gonna come on trying to tell me that he gonna bring his Negro League gear, and I'm out of touch because I'm wearing my White Sox gear. But there are two things he missed out on, Bob. First of all, I'm wearing my 1972 White Sox jersey, number 15, and we all know that's Dick Allen, who should be in the Hall of Fame.
He absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, and then the second thing I got on my cousin is he didn't know. I went and got out the closet.
Oh!
For those of you who don't know, this is Chicago American League Giants from the Negro League. So I got my gear too, Bob.
You know what, Jay? See, I'm not gonna let you know, Bob. Talk to him about Ruby Foster and those guys, Bob. See, he doesn't know about Ruby Foster and those guys, Ruby Foster. So I'm not gonna go there, Bob. I'm not gonna steal. Go ahead, Bob. Can you tell us a little bit about the Negro League Museum, Bob?
You know, it's a special place, guys. And you made a great intro about just how special this museum is. And you're right. We are celebrating 100 years of the birth of the Negro Leagues, formed here in Kansas City in 1920 by a Chicagoan, Andrew Rube Foster, the genius. Yeah, Rube Foster, fellas, would lead a contingent of 8 independent Black baseball team owners into a meeting that took place at the Paseo YMCA, just right around the corner from where the museum currently operates. Out of that meeting came the birth of the Negro National League, the first successful organized Black baseball league. The Negro Leagues would then go on to operate remarkably for 40 years, from 1920 until 1960, before they finally folded. And really, Rube Foster's genius is really the reason that this thing took off, because others had tried to create a Negro Leagues and had failed. But Rube Foster had the juice, man. You can make a case that Rube Foster is the greatest baseball mind this sport has ever seen. And quite frankly, y'all, nobody really knows who he is, even though he is rightfully enshrined in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. He was just light years ahead of his time.
Without a doubt. So I mean, both myself and my cousin Lance have been down there. I don't know if Joe, have you been able to go to the Negro League Museum down in Kansas City before?
Well, when I was in college at Robert Morris University, I used to cover the NAIA national tournament in Kansas City. You know about Municipal Stadium.
Oh yeah,
Negro League was right. Like, I think Negro League Museum was one of the trips we actually took, and I learned a lot about Cool Papa Bill, Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson. Jackie Robinson, breaking the color barrier. And even though I know that he wasn't the top player, but he was the most well-rounded, prepared player to handle that transition from an artistic.
And Joe, it's interesting because we make the case that Jackie wasn't the best player in the Negro Leagues. And I think sometimes people think that's slighting Jackie, but it's not. No. It's just speaking to how much talent, the immense talent that was in the Negro Leagues. Because as you all well know, Jackie Robinson is one of the greatest athletes in American sports history. Yeah. He was a 4-sport letterman at UCLA, and baseball was his weakest sport. Yeah, he much better basketball, football, track athlete than he was baseball player, and he turns himself into a Hall of Fame caliber baseball player. And some say he was an even better tennis player. So there was nothing that Jackie couldn't do. But this speaks to, again, the incredible talent that was there in the Negro Leagues. And I tell people today, if you were to poll most baseball fans on who the two greatest living major leaguers are today, and I don't think you'll get much dispute over this, Willie Mays and Henry Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them come out of the Negro Leagues.
That's
Yeah,
right.
they're just a sampling of the immense talent that was there in the Negro League. Good young stars who became superstars at the major league level. Man, there were other guys in these leagues known as the Negro Leagues who were just as good, and some might argue even better than Henry Aaron and Willie Mays, which I can tell you now, that's absolutely frightening because we know how good Willie Mays and Henry Aaron were.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So, Bob, let me ask you this. So for many of our people, they may not have been to the museum. Tell me a little bit about what the museum offers. Tell me about the price to get in. I think it's the best bargain out here in America.
No. I mean, you can come to this museum as an adult for just $10. And we think we've created one of the most significant cultural institutions in the world. It is located here at historic 18th and Vine in Kansas City, which was the jazz district and one of the most recognized street cross sections as there was anywhere in the world. We started this museum in a little one-room office in 1990. So we're actually celebrating our 30th anniversary. And we've emerged from that one-room office to now what is about 10,000 square feet of exhibit space. So it's a small footprint, but man, within that small footprint is a lot of information. And over that time span, we grew from becoming this grassroots organization to now being officially recognized as America's national Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. So when you come here, you're going to go back on a nostalgic journey in time. And you're going to meet some of the greatest athletes who ever played this game. But by the time you walk away from this experience, I think you walk away cheering the power of the human spirit to persevere and prevail. Because what you do is you not only witness the rise and subsequent fall of the Negro Leagues, but you literally witness the social rise of America simultaneously. And it's just told through the eyes of these incredibly courageous and talented ball players who, as I like to say, forged a glorious history in the midst of an inglorious time in American history. They just wanted to play ball.
Do you think, Bob, that more people are paying attention to the history of black players that's playing in the game now?
I think so. And I like to believe, Lance, that we had a hand in helping increase that interest. And what we're seeing now is really an all-time high as it relates to interest in the Negro Leagues. Mm-hmm. And perhaps this 100th anniversary provided a platform, even though so many of the things that we had planned have been derailed by coronavirus. But the relationship that we have with Major League Baseball, the Players Association, I think has really elevated the interest not only in the black athlete or within that black athlete in Major League Baseball, but all the athletes are wanting to learn more about the history of our sport. And as you all well know, no sport holds to its history the way baseball does. Baseball is that one sport where we consistently and constantly compare the stars of yesteryear with the stars of today. And see, you don't see that so readily in basketball and football. It's more or less accepted that the guys who play today are the best, but not in baseball. Whoever your favorite baseball player was when you were a kid, man, they're going to be your favorite baseball player the rest of your life. That's just the nature of how our sport is. And so in my mind, there will never be a baseball player in the major leagues better than Henry Aaron. Even if they're better than Henry Aaron, they won't be better than Henry Aaron in my eyes.
You know what, Joseph? Growing up, I'm thinking about that. I'm sitting there smiling. I love J.R. Richards because I played baseball, right? Yeah. And I loved his leg kicks. So I'm sitting there smiling, just thinking about J.R. Richards.
Oh, man, J.R. was nasty. He was straight up nasty. They talk about Nolan Ryan, but it was really J.R. Richards who was the dominant one on that Astro team. He's a good friend. He's a good friend of mine. And I talked to him last week. He's still down in Houston. But, J.R., man, was, hitting the radar gun, over 100 miles an hour. And his slider was 96, 97 miles an hour. It was just nasty.
Yeah, it is.
Y'all gonna make me stand up. I'm starting to get excited.
I can tell you now, there were a lot of hitters who got sick the day when JR was on the mound. I ain't feeling too good.
I think Joseph's got a question for you too regarding some of the stuff that you guys do.
Yeah, I've just been watching because I know that in MLB they've been drafting a lot of Dominican players, but in this draft in particular, I'm seeing a rise of the African American athlete again. One is Ed Howard. If it's okay, if you could just, like, I don't know if you kind of had him on your radar or not, but how important is that for the African American athlete to have a resurgence in the game of Major League Baseball?
It's very important because, again, this thing is aspirational for us. Mm-hmm. So we're not only a museum that preserves a very important piece of baseball in American history, we're a museum that wants to have a hand in helping get our kids engaged in this sport. But as you well know, you have to see yourself in that light. And so as we're seeing more and more African-American ball players drafted, we're excited about Ed Howard. We're excited about some of the young players that we've seen drafted over the last several years who are now starting to populate the minor leagues, because, again, we're looking at how we can move this needle. Everybody's talking about how we've been phased out of this game, or certainly phasing out of this game. But I think there's great hope, and there's great cause for hope. We have to kind of stay the path, though. And Major League Baseball and Major League Baseball's Player Association understand that there is a need for the African-American presence in our sport. And so as we get kids looking at our sport and aspiring to play this game, they need to see people who look like them who play this game. And that's why I think the Negro Leagues Museum is so important, because when kids walk into this museum, they see people who look just like them, who played this game as well as anybody ever played this game. But guys, they not only played the game, they owned teams. They were managers and coaches and traveling secretaries and team physicians. They fulfilled every role within the business of the game of baseball. So yeah, we want them to dream of playing in the major leagues, but we also want them to understand where there are other opportunities in this sport and how they can prepare to compete for those opportunities, because we did everything you could do in this game.
Yep. So, Bob, I only got a couple of minutes with you left in this segment. I'm gonna definitely have you back here in the future, because I can talk. You and I can talk this for 2 hours. But there are a couple of things I want to get in that I want people to know about. One thing that really struck out to me when I visited the museum were the women who played in the Negro Leagues. A lot of people don't know about. So please mention the ladies who played. Absolutely. And I'm not sure if you're still able to do the travel museum right now because of the pandemic, but I also know that's a way you can kind of take the museum smaller and take it on the road. But can you please talk about those sisters? Talk about Connie and everybody who played as well, because they need their due as well.
3 amazing, courageous women who played in the Negro Leagues with and against the men. Toni Stone, Connie Morgan, and Mamie Peanut Johnson. Yeah, Toni Stone was the first female of professional baseball. She was followed by Mamie Peanut Johnson and Connie Morgan, all 3 pioneers, again, competing with and against the men in the 1950s in the Negro Leagues. As a matter of fact, guys, Toni Stone took the roster place of a player who you've probably heard his name, Henry Aaron. Yeah, the Boston Braves had signed Henry Aaron away from the Indianapolis Clowns after the 1952 season. In 53, the Clowns signed Toni Stone to fill his roster place. All 3 were tremendously gifted athletes who they had to deal with both racism and sexism. But it's like anything else. Once you prove you belong, everything was good. But, initially there were some fellas who weren't necessarily happy about it. And again, we always in a world of self-preservation. Toni Stone come on and now I might lose my job to this woman. And they didn't like that as much. But after she proved she belonged, everybody was accepted. And so, yeah, these 3 courageous women, there were female leaders, executives in the Negro Leagues, most notably Effa Manley, the first woman to be nominated and inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. And that's something that we take great pride in. Because quite frankly, guys, the Negro Leagues didn't care what color you were, and they didn't care what gender you were. Can you play? Do you have something to offer? And that strikes me, that a league born out of segregation would become the driving force for social change in this country. A league born out of exclusion would become perhaps this country's most inclusive entity. And that's what makes this story about the Negro League so compelling and so awe-inspiring, and I think so very important.
Well, Bob, once again, thank you for joining us. If it's okay with you, would you mind sticking around for just a couple more minutes? I got to take a break, but the person I'm bringing on after you is a person that you know. So I kind of want to see if I can get you guys on here. Joseph Phillip for the Crusader, thanks for coming on. Everybody check out Joseph's work, ChicagoCrusader.com. He's got some good stories coming up. Joe, I will talk to you tomorrow. And by the way, the White Sox beat your Cubs, even though it was a game.
We play tonight.
That don't count.
Same results.
There you go, same result. We're going to take a break right now. We'll be right back with a little bit more of Bob and our next guest coming up. Hang on and stay there with us, people. Thank you. YouTube. We're streaming live. Go to YouTube. Check us out.
Hey, Jay, before
we are back. It's my guy, Bob Kendrick from the Negro League Museum. Lance has got another question for you.
I got a question, Bob.
Yeah, Lance.
Bob, you have so much history, but let me ask you this. Was your jump shot as good as the way you talking about the Negro League Museum? I know you passed baseball.
If you ask me, it was.
I'm sorry for that question.
Now, the older I get, the better I get.
Hey, Bob, let me ask you, what has your relationship been like with the Chicago Major League teams, both the White Sox and the Chicago Cubs, and helping to promote some of the stuff with the Negro Leagues in terms of the history and even with the current players? What has your experience been like working with our teams here in Chicago?
It's been good. And of course, we have a long-standing partnership with the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox have been great to this museum, and we've done things off and on with the Cubs. We haven't had the level of relationship, though, that we've had with the White Sox. The White Sox remain today the only team to ever bring all of their players to the Negro Leagues Museum. Kenny Williams, when the Sox won the World Series in 2005, and we honored Kenny Williams as the Executive of the Year, which is our Rube Foster Award. And when he gave his acceptance speech, he stood at the podium and he looked the late, great Buck O'Neil in his eyes and said, when we return to town next year for the baseball season, I'm bringing the entire team. And he held up to his word. All brought a busload, every player on the team, all the personnel that was traveling came in for a tour of the museum. Ozzie Guillen and the entire crew were here. And one of my favorite memories of that trip, Jose Contreras was with the team at that time. Okay. Cuban ball player, great ball player. And when he walked in and he saw a statue of his fellow countryman, the great Martin de Higo, El Maestro, as they called him. Yeah, he just lit up because I'm not sure he knew or expected to see his fellow countrymen represented in the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. But there were so many Cuban players that called the Negro Leagues home. And man, he just absolutely lit up. And Martin de Higo, you cannot come out of Cuba and not know the name Martin de Higo, because he is one of the greatest baseball players of all time, without question the most versatile. Played all 9 positions, played all 9 of them well. He is the only baseball player in the history of our sport to be enshrined into 5 different countries' baseball halls of fame.
Wow.
So he's in the Mexican, Cuban, Venezuelan, Dominican, and in Cooperstown. And so, man, it was just a thrill to welcome Jim Toney at that time, all the guys who were part of that 05-06 White Sox team. So, yeah, the White Sox have a very special place in our heart. Jerry Reinsdorf has been a longtime friend of the museum. He loved the late Sam Harrison, Jerry and Scott Harrison's grandfather. And so there's always been this relationship. Of course, Buck O'Neil, who was the founder of the Negro Leagues Museum, legendary Negro Leaguer, brought so many of those great black stars to the Chicago Cubs. So he sent Ernie Banks to the Cubs, and Sweet Lou Johnson and George Altman. All these guys were former Negro Leaguers that Buck sent over to the Cubs. And while he didn't sign Billy Williams, he is responsible for Billy Williams staying in the game. Billy Williams had quit the Cubs and gone back home to Whistler, Alabama. And who did the Cubs send to go get it? Buck O'Neil. And Buck went down to Whistler, and Buck said he never said anything to Billy for several days about coming back. He'd pick him up, take him around to the ballpark. And of course, the kids saw Billy Williams. He's one of theirs.
Right.
They're so proud, major leaguer. And Buck said after a few days, Billy said, okay, Buck, I'm ready to go back. The Cubs wanted Buck to put him on the bus. And Buck said, Old Buck was driving an old Plymouth Fury at that time. And Buck said, no, I'm going to put him in my car. And Buck drove him from Whistler, Alabama to San Antonio, Texas, where the Cubs spring trained at that time. Billy Williams becomes Sweet Swinging Billy Williams, future Hall of Famer. And he tell you today he owes his career to Buck O'Neil.
Wow. I mean, for myself, growing up on the south side of Chicago, my family, 6 flat building, I was very fortunate, Bob. I had a neighbor who lived on the 3rd floor, and he was from Mobile, Alabama. So when I was about 5 or 6, I was playing Little League, but his neighbor growing up in Mobile was Satchel Paige. Man. I learned about Negro League players when I was like a toddler. I was hearing names like, Satchel Paige, Cool Papa Bell, just so many of the players who came out of the South. And I know Lance, he played his Little League ball in the Jackie Robinson West Little League. So, Lance, I'm sure you've got, some stuff that you could probably tell Bob as well about your experience in baseball as a youth.
Bob, I used to pitch him, and I played third base, and I love the game. But one thing you spoke about earlier that I just want to touch on again is that, can you talk about how you said we were owners, we were managers, we did more than just playing? Because oftentimes, especially at this point in time, kids need to know that. So can you touch on that again?
Yeah, no, I think that's important that we understand that we created a baseball league of our own that parallel the major leagues. And I think it's still difficult for people, even when they come to the Negro Leagues Museum, to accept the fact that there were 2 professional baseball leagues operating simultaneous to one another. One, the major leagues, that gave the best white ball player an opportunity to showcase his skills, and the other, the Negro Leagues, which did the exact same thing for the best Black and Hispanic ball players. But these leagues were just as professional as the major leagues, and the only thing that separated them is that the major leagues were probably better funded. The Negro Leagues didn't have the degree of ownership in stadiums like the major leagues did. But from a talent standpoint, no. And wherever you had successful Black baseball, you had thriving Black economies.
Yes,
the Chicago American Giants were a part of what made the South Side when the South Side was the South Side.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. And the same thing here in Kansas City with the great Kansas City Monarchs. They're filling up Comiskey Park, man. Yeah. The East-West All-Star game was drawing over 50,000 people over to Chicago's Comiskey Park for one of the showcase events in American sports history, and nobody knows anything about it.
Yeah. So, Bob, on that note, I'm going to bring in someone who you're familiar with, someone you know, someone Lance knows very well. And he's one of the people we are most proud of Chicago from our community. He has advanced at such a high level in the game of baseball. He currently is the president of the media operations for the Chicago Cubs. Bob, you know what I'm talking about?
Who you got with me?
I got Julian Green. Julian,
What's
you
up,
have?
Julian?
We got him, and he's representing the team.
Yeah, he is.
What's up,
Hey,
Bob?
man, how you doing?
Hey guys, you got a giant, man. Bob Kendricks, man. That is the man. You know, we all pay a debt of gratitude to that man in terms of what he's doing down there with the museum. So, brother, love you. It was great to have you up at Wrigley Field a few years ago.
Hey, man, we had a ball. We had a ball, man. Thank you so much for arranging that a few years ago, and we got a chance to get on the field with the guys, and I had one of my big donors with me who is a lifelong Cubs fan, and this guy who is a dear friend of mine in the museum can do virtually anything that he wants to. But that experience that you helped me create for him is something that he'll remember the rest of his life. He was like a kid in the candy store, man.
Absolutely. We're gonna get these players down there. Every person, every Black, every African American person in the country needs to get down to that museum. It is a wonderful place. And we've talked about getting our players down there. And I hope once we get back to the resumption of baseball and get fans in the stadium and start getting on these planes, and we'll come down and visit you, brother. We got to.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Hey,
we are
Julian,
looking forward to it.
Can you please tell my younger cousin where you went to high school so he'll know that we produce great people that's doing great things?
V. Percy L. and L stands for Levon, Julian, high school.
Thank you, sir.
Not late. It doesn't stand for late to the party. It stands for Percy Levon Julian High School, brother.
I am not about to get into a fight with the Jaguar Nation, man. I love y'all. I love y'all too. Lindblom and Luther South love Julian too, man. And you all went to the school that's named after one of the great people from our community, and Percy L. Julian. And that's one of the reasons why we created this show, that we can, send knowledge out to our people. We have so many people in so many different aspects of this society who are doing well, like Julian, like Bob, like Lance, like myself. Bob has been here with us. I want him to give us a shout out to you. Bob, thank you so much for joining us. And I was so glad you were able to connect with Julian. And see, now you got Julian on record. He got to bring them Cubs down there now. Bob.
I know it. I got him. We got it documented. We got it on tape.
Bob.
No, man, I say this with all sincerity. We're so proud of what you're doing at a front office level. And again, that's something that we have to continue to push the needle in baseball to create more opportunities for African Americans in that front office line of what we do, in that executive role. So we need more Julian Greens. But man, we're so proud of what you're doing. Keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you, brother. Hey, I like the haircut too.
Matter of fact, Bob came on sharp. Nice.
Bob got the tie and everything.
Bob, seriously, if I'm ever in Kansas City again, which I will be, I'm definitely coming back to visit the Negro League Museum. I love to feel the legends. That was great when I walked around. I had my daughter and my wife with me. So keep up the good work, and I appreciate you coming on. You see how excited I was. I went and grabbed my hat. This is the first time I have worn this hat since 2005.
Hey, man, well, we appreciate you all. Thanks so much for the opportunity and the love that you're showing for the history of the Negro Leagues and of course, this great museum here in Kansas City.
Thanks, Bob.
You.
All right, guys. Appreciate you.
So, Julian, you are with us, man, brother. Thank you for joining us. Tell us, I know this has been just the craziest past few months for you guys up there on the north side, trying to figure out what are you going to do? How can you help accommodate the Cubs Nation and your fan base? And, I know you had a lot to do with that and trying to promote stuff. So just tell our viewers kind of what is the plan going forward to try to incorporate fans into this this season is getting ready to start here on Friday?
Sure. I mean, what we are trying to pull off is like no less than remarkable. When you think about, what we've experienced over the last 120, 160 or so days, and everything we do has to be rooted in health and safety for our players, for the employees, my colleagues that I work with, as well as the fans at the point that we're able to bring them back into the ballpark and the stadium. And when you think about that, even with the allowances to let at least 25% of the fans come back in, 25% of our capacity, you've now seen as of today, the mayor who is now starting to put restrictions back in place, which may impact our ability to even have the possibility of bringing fans back in. So I wouldn't say because we're playing baseball Friday, we're any closer to being able to welcome fans back in. And put on top of that, knock on wood, our ability to so far have no players test positive for COVID-19. We are particularly, I'd say lucky, no less than lucky, to be able to have players who have not been affected or afflicted, with this insidious disease. And so, what I'm thinking, the things that keep me up at night is, can we get to opening day, number one? Number two, can we even play 60 games before you even talk about bringing fans in? So there's a lot that has to go on before we're getting fans into the ballpark. But incredibly excited to be able to bring this game, America's pastime, back to a lot of Cubs fans who reside on the South Side. And I see that White Sox jersey you got on. But, there's a lot of Cubs fans, and hopefully we're able to see them one day soon.
Hey, Julian, I was watching the game last night. Could you talk about the situation with the rooftops? How would the rooftops be handled this year?
A number of different ways. First is we have a number of corporate partners who pay a significant amount of money. I mean, Lance, you know this from, playing and, at the college level, being in and around professional sports. One of the ways to try to put a competitive product on the field is through partnerships, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure through, what you're trying to accomplish over there at Chicago State, those things are important. And so some of those rooftops will be allocated to those partners so that hopefully we can try to provide some value to them, as a way of trying to recoup some of the lost impressions, right? 40,000 people in the stadium 81 times a year means that people are going to get a chance to see that Toyota, that Wintrust, that McDonald's, that Nike logo, right? So how can we provide some activation and some engagement so that they feel like they've gotten preserving some of that value in 2020? That's one. Two, a number of season ticket holders who spent a lot of money for tickets this season, who have either gotten credits or refunds. Those are our high value customers, right? And so we want to try to provide some type of tickets or opportunity for them to see the game. And then look, the public, the fans, the real fans, the fans who have been part of this club for generations, right? They may not have season tickets, but hey, they damn sure have spent and come to this ballpark for decades as big fans. And so you got to be able to take care. So it's a very challenging piece that we got to go through to make sure that it's equitable, to make sure that it's fair. But yes, to the next question, yeah, those tickets come at a pretty significant clip. And so far what I've seen is, some of those tickets on average of $300, $350 could be more, but a lot of that is a part of, the hottest ticket in town. Where else in the United States right now can you go watch a baseball game or live sports with a view inside a ballpark in the stadium, right? NBA is in the bubble, no fans, you won't be able to see it, but on TV. So if I can have a beer and a hot dog and look at beautiful Wrigley Field from a rooftop, there's some people who pay a little bit more money.
Yeah. Without doubt, Julian. And the funny thing is, you just mentioned it in your last comment. The only other place people would have possibly been able to do that would have been in Toronto, because they've got that hotel that you can oversee the field. But now the Canadian government has shut down Toronto. So now Wrigley Field is the only place. So I know you all have done a lot of stuff around Wrigley Field as well in terms of the neighborhood, the new restaurants that are in, the new hotels that have been built, and you were kind of gearing all that towards this year. Can you talk to me a little bit about the status of that? and what you all are trying to do to work with some of your neighborhood partners for people who still want to be a part of the games. You know, I'm completely expecting Cubs fans to come into Wrigleyville on game day and still frequent those businesses as well. Can you talk a little bit about that, Julian?
Sure. I mean, that's a challenge as well. I mean, the second best place to watch a baseball game, you know, besides Wrigley Field, besides being inside the ballpark, is where? Across the street from the ballpark in a restaurant or bar. And so a number of those restaurants and bars that have been affected by COVID-19, some of those who are now being directed by Friday, that they will no longer be able to have indoor capacity and only outdoor capacity. Some of these places will be attractive locations for fans who want to just be connected to the brand. This is the most difficult thing that any sports fan could be a part of, that you're not, you know, it's one thing not to have any live sports. It's quite another thing to actually have your team playing meaningful games and you can't even be part of it beyond watching it on TV. And so, you know, we'd like to certainly, you know, look, we're one of the largest companies, organizations, employers in the neighborhood in which we operate. And a lot of the businesses depend on the revenue that's generated, you know, because of Wrigley Field. So a lot of those bars and restaurants are hoping that, you know, there'll be an ability to be able to, you know, serve our fans because of the games that are on TV. Having said that, we also know we have to be responsible operators. And that's not just us in terms of, to your point, managing crowds on the streets and working with the city. What we don't want to have thousands of people or hundreds of people being in close proximity to each other and somehow impacting or lessening the mitigation of what we're trying to prevent the spread. So working with our local health department, working with the police, we're trying to do our part, but at the same time strike that balance where we still can have fans who want to come in and near and around Wrigley Field to have that connection to the brand. So, you know, whether it's sidewalk cafes or trying to have, you know, work with the city to do kind of get some variances for some of the outdoor seating, you know, those are things that are helpful, not only for the restaurants and the retail establishments who need to drive some revenue, but also for the fans who want to come up there and be part of the game. So it's all of it is a difficult challenge, but it's one that we're willing to invest time in because we think it's important for our game long term.
What does the TV deal? Could you tell me how the TV deal is shaping up this year, Julian? Because I know it's only 60 games and stuff like that, and stuff keeps changing. So could you talk about a TV deal that the Cubs have?
Well, this year we're launching our new Marquee Sports Network, and we had a great broadcast last night.
I almost couldn't find the game last night. So I was going to call you and I was going to go in on you, but that's why I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was blacked out on ESPN, obviously because there were two broadcasts. We had it airing on Marquee Sports Network, but it was also airing on NBC Sports Chicago via Comcast, which is the White Sox broadcast rights holder. Okay. So locally, it was on two stations. And, you know, for us, for the Cubs, this is our first foray into a regional sports network in terms of owned and operated in combination with the team and Sinclair Broadcast Network. So we're very excited about it. We're going to have the ability to be able to bring Cubs baseball directly to fans from the pregame to postgame. You know, before prior years, you'd have to tune into 4 or 5 different channels to see a Cubs game. NBC Sports, NBC Sports Plus, WLS, WGN, ESPN on national broadcast networks. And so very challenging in past years to be able to find a Cubs game on a particular evening. Now it's going to be on one sports network. We won't have to be preempted by the Bulls. We won't have to be preempted by a White Sox coverage. You'll be able to get the pregame, the postgame interviews with David Ross, and a lot of behind the scenes access and content that you never had before. And so that's great for us. That's great for true fans in terms of delivering that content. We know in this environment, content is king, and to be able to get that insider access is going to be something great, I think, for our fans, not only this season, because we don't have the ability to have fans in the baseball park yet, but also for the long term in terms of what we'll be able to provide. So really excited about that aspect. Even in an abbreviated 60-game season, we're excited about, having this opportunity through Marquee Sports Network.
Can you please talk to the student that's out there listening to you saying, hey, he has a great job? Could you tell those students what all you do and how did you get started? Because I remember you back in high school, and I'm like, okay, Julie, now I'm listening to you. Now I'm seeing everything that you do, especially during this time. And I know it's tough for you. I know you barely been sleeping. So can you tell the high school kid what kind of job that you actually do so they know just in case they want to follow in your footsteps?
Sure. I mean, my current role title is Vice President of Communications and Community Affairs for the Cubs, going into my 10th season here. It has been a roller coaster of a ride, but a great ride. I have a World Series ring to show for it. And it has been a very exciting time to be part of this organization. I handle a lot. I am the chief spokesperson for the organization. So typically, whether you're reading the Chicago Tribune or Chicago Sun-Times or looking at WLS or WGN, I'm typically the person that's out in front and center of a lot of different issues, speaking to media. And that is a large part of my role in terms of being the main interface chief ambassador with Chicago, local, regional, and national media. And that's where I cut my teeth, Lance. You remember me back at school. I was part of the radio television program at Julian High School, learning about how to produce content, edit content, both in front and in back of the camera, and have continued to do such, brother, and have enjoyed it. And so, part of what I do, I would say the part of the origin of getting into this came from writing. I can't say enough, especially speaking to high school kids in terms of what I do. Yeah, it's great to be in front of the media and be the spokesperson, but to be able to convey a message, to be able to draft a message, to be able to do strategy in terms of what to do in terms of a crisis. If a player gets caught into something that we don't want them to get caught into, it all comes down to reading and writing. You have to be informed. That's the basics. That's your ticket to play. And so all those English classes that I took, and before getting into radio, television production, and learning how to camera, just mastering the English language. And I can't say it enough. Our kids today, it's 140 characters or less. Yeah. And when we get on their text messages, it's like IKR. I know, right? LOL, laugh out loud. We speak in all these abbreviations and these emojis, and not spending a lot of time trying to master the English language and grammar and punctuation. And I did that a lot. And I wasn't an English major, but was involved in a lot of writing over the years to get to this point, because whether it's written, visual, or audio, as we're doing here, part of this comes down to training and, reading and writing, reading comprehension, right? Can you understand something that's given to you, synthesize it, and then try to help others understand that message? That's what public relations is, right? It's relating to the public. And there are a lot of people who do it well, but there are a lot of examples, especially in sports, with athletes and general managers and coaches who have done it wrong. We've seen that play out on TV. And so part of my job, before these folks get on TV, is to help them out. But the great news is when you work with someone like Theo Epstein, and he is a trained classical writer. His father was a great writer, is a great writer, and so it makes it easy, when you're working with great communicators, and someone like Theo, who's certainly one of the best, I think, in the game.
Yeah, and once again, we're being joined by Julian Green. He is the Vice President of Communication and Community Affairs for the Chicago Cubs. And, Julian, right now, the White Sox are getting a lot of that PR, like you talked about. And, it's about time. They put a good product on the field. You guys have definitely had a great run for the last 6-7 years as well. Just from a PR perspective, how important is it for the Cubs when also the White Sox are also good at the same time?
Look, it's great for the game. It's great for Chicago. We're not done yet. We had a couple bad, couple years where, we fell out of the playoffs last year. Certainly year before that, didn't quite make it out of the wild card. But we got some young players, and they're hungry and they're driven. Javier, Rizzo, Kyle Schwarber, Amora, Contreras. The list goes down. I mean, we're deep. We got some depth. We certainly made some changes, but this group is hungry. And so I don't think we're finished yet. And having that combined with a great team on the South Side makes for great content, and it makes for great ratings, especially when these two teams play each other, right? We're going to play tonight. We played last night. And look, ultimately, there's been this nostalgia or this excitement around a Subway series in terms of the Mets and Yankees, right? It's like, it's if that happens, it's like the baseball gods have come together. Well, I think there's something to say about a crosstown World Series, in the event that the White Sox and the Cubs got to meet each other in a World Series right here in Chicago. So both teams being good is good for the game. It's certainly good for the local sports economy. It gives you guys a lot to talk about.
Yes.
In terms of one team being really good and the other not so good. And certainly I think look, Chicago's a great sports town. There's enough to talk about. Got the Bears and the Bulls and the Blackhawks. So it's time for baseball to come back.
I agree.
We want to see the ratings, and we certainly want to see people come in both ballparks.
Right. Well, Julian, thank you so much for joining us today, brother. It's a pleasure for me to get a chance to meet you. I'm glad you and Lance were able to reconnect. And one of the things we want to do with this show in the future is we want to do one of our live broadcasts from out there at Wrigley Field. So we would definitely be in contact with you to try to hook that up. We're also going to do some stuff at Guaranteed Rate Field, but we definitely want to come up to the north side and do our show from up there because we have a lot of Cubs fans, and a lot of my best friends are Cubs fans. Most of them are White Sox fans, though, because they got sense.
Hey, I want to get you one of these limited edition Cubs metallic Cubs hats right here from New Era.
Yeah, matter of fact, he doesn't need one of those. Well, let me say this, Julie. Yeah, please get him a hat. But also, my brother Nick, him and Sean Marion, those guys love the Cubs. Now, I like the Cubs. I'm a Sox first, but I like the Cubs. I want to see both teams win. But Nick was like, Julian Green is going to be on. I said, Nick from high school. He's like, I know, Julie, you didn't tell me he worked for the Cubs. I said, I can't tell you everything, Nick. But I appreciate you being on, Julie.
Oh, man, bro, I know your family, man. Tell everybody I said hello. We go way back, brother. It's a lot, man, dude, what you guys have done for basketball in this city is just legendary, brother. So keep it on. Happy for your success. Appreciate and, hey, anything I can do, let me know. And absolutely, I will definitely love to have you host you guys up at Wrigley Field. You can take that to the bank, brother.
All right. Appreciate it. One of the best from the South Side, Julian Green. We're going to take a break right now. Coming up next, Eugene McIntosh of the Bigs as we really delve into White Sox Cubs. Be right back. Thanks. Welcome back, everybody, to What's Up, Cuz. I'm your host, Jason Palmer, along with my guest co-host for the second week in a row, my cousin Lance Irvin.
What's up, cuz?
Man, Julian, y'all produce some good people, man. Julian Green he good people, man.
Oh, he dropped some nuggets. Bob was great today. I think the show been great. Been learning a lot tonight, Jay.
I know, man. I'm learning a lot too. Now, you done switched it up on me, cuz now last week, you know, you had your green screen and you had this brick background. It looked like we needed to spray paint stuff on it. Now you got some sort of dark demon art behind you or something.
You know, it's not dark demon. My cousin Barrett did this, and it's a limited edition, one of a kind. It's real nice. It's I'll explain it to you later. I don't want you to steal my trick.
I ain't gonna steal the promoter, man. Your cousin did something on the What's Up Cuz show. We all about promoting each other.
Man, I'm gonna get him to come on the show too, Barrett. He did this nice art that my wife really liked. You know, she wanted him to do something that represented like Black unity and those type things. So I love the picture. I said, let me try something different out. Since I don't want to come flexing with all the trophies and the basketballs and stuff. So no, just trying to try something different. And I love your backdrop though. And I like how you try to bring out the Sox limited edition jersey.
That's right.
You see how Julian got on you about the Cubs.
I know. I had to, man. What can I say, man? What can I say? Well, anyway, you know, we're all about promoting, you know, Black businesses on our show. So, you know, if it's your cousin who's got a painting or you got some sort of business out there, let us know. That's why we created this forum to, you know, promote stuff going on in our community, promote people in our community who are doing some really good things like Julian Green. And just like our next guest, we got another guest coming on, Lance.
Who do we have?
This time, this guy's a member of the Baseball Writers Association. He's been in the media for a long time. He's a graduate of Chicago State University. He was actually a baseball player there. He currently has his own show called The Bigs, which we also air here on SportsZone Chicago. So make sure you download our app again, SportsZone Chicago app. But joining us to talk about the Sox and the Cubs as we get ready to go into this new season, Eugene McIntosh. Eugene is there. What's up, cuz? There's Gene.
That's my man. What's up, cuz?
What up, cuz? I'm glad to be able to touch down with you brothers, man. I'm happy to see you guys launch this platform. I'm trying to see where y'all gonna take it, man.
I have a bone to pick with you.
Oh,
you didn't tell me you was heavy into baseball. Nick and I was laughing at you today. I said, Nick, come on, y'all didn't tell me that. You didn't tell me you was a big baseball guy.
Yeah, man. That coming out of Mount Carmel, you know, me and Twan and Donovan were the three amigos. Twan was the basketball star, Donovan was the football star, and I was the baseball guy. So that's where it stems from, man. But yeah, I got a love for it. Lance. It's my favorite sport. I love basketball, as you know. I love hooping. It's nothing like that. Nothing like basketball, but baseball is definitely my first love, man.
Well, here go my first question. You know, I love basketball, but I love baseball. Can you hit the curveball?
Of course I can hit. I can hit the curveball right now, actually. Oh yeah. I'm locked and loaded, man. I stay locked and loaded, man. Anytime that I get a fix, you know, anytime the game is finally coming back, you know, with the pandemic and everything. You know, the game was on hold. All sports were on hold, you know, for a minute. But with the game coming back, you know, I've gotten an itch lately. So shout out to one of my partners who's also an area scout for the Cubs, Karan Walker. He has an academy here on 44th and Western. It's called the Big Baseball Academy.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I get an itch, you know, just to get some work in, I go over there, hitting the cage, throw. I was a pitcher at Mount Carmel, so try to still see if I can hit 80 on the gun. And I still got it, man. Whenever you need to see it, I still got it, man.
Now, Eugene, Karan was his original spot in Bronzeville off of Michigan, and then did he move it?
It was. He started by right around I think it was 36 in state.
Yep.
He was there for maybe 4 or 5 years, and then he moved for maybe not even a year or two. I think he was on like 61st in state. And yeah, for like the last maybe 3 or 4 years, he's been over there on 44th and Western, man. So he's doing good stuff in the community and with the kids.
Yeah, I remember when he first started that business, I did a story on him for the Chicago Crusader newspaper. I did not know he had moved, but I do remember when he first opened his academy. So, Eugene, let's get right into it.
Yeah.
So, first of all, this has got to be a very exciting time for you because both the Cubs and the White Sox have got pretty strong teams this year. Let's start on the north side. Let's talk a little bit about this 2020 Cubs team. What do you see as this team's strengths, and what do you see as this team's weaknesses?
Well, I think obviously the strength is them being champions, not too far removed, and still having the bulk of the guys who led the way in 2016 with Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, Javier Baez, John Lester, Kyle Hendricks, Jason Hayward, and guys like that. So that's an obvious strength. But I also think that with this being, an unheralded season with, the 60-game season, and this being a first for everybody, it opens the gate for anybody to come out on top. So I do think that, them having that prior experience and having those veteran guys to still be able to kind of lead the way is their number one strength. But I think the weakness, which again, I think is going to be a weakness around baseball in general, is going to be the starting pitching because obviously those guys losing. I mean, Cole Hamels was a pretty good, fourth or fifth guy in the rotation last year, but just having this delay, guys not being able to go through their regular routine and their regular offseason protocol, I think that's probably taking the pitching back for a while. But again, having John Lester, Kyle Hendricks, a guy like Yu Darvish, who had a pretty good second half last year, and not having to go 162 games, maybe they can shorten out the rotation to a 4-man rotation. I mean, Jose Quintana, who, he had an injury to his thumb, so he's been set back for maybe a couple weeks. I'm not sure right now. He's resumed throwing and stuff. I think he has to do a couple Cactus League starts before he comes back. But I think pitching is going to be their biggest weakness. But I think they may be able to overcome, like I said, 60 games. It's a sprint, not a marathon. So we'll see, man.
Let me ask you this. Let's talk about David Ross, the first-year manager. Do you have any thoughts about that? Because when you started off your first year is always tough. But I think the thing that will help him is that he has a veteran ball club. Can you talk about what you think he would bring to the table this year?
Well, I think David Ross is perfect for the gig, especially with him, another guy who was a leader on that 2016 championship squad. And then, not being too far removed. I think Rossi might only be, he may be 42 or 43. So, still kind of being, a part of the organization, even though he was, in the broadcast booth with ESPN for a couple years, still having, the relationships with guys like Rizzo and Brian and Baez and those type of guys. I think that's going to bode well for him. But I also just think that he was built for this type of situation. I think it serves him well. He's a person first, player second guy. Mm-hmm. And I think that is what serves those guys more, because guys want to know that you care about them more of their person than what they do on the field. So I think this is going to go well for Rossi. And again, 60 games, man, it's a sprint. So I think that's a plus for him, Lance. I think he'll get to, and he has good assistants around him, which I think will help him out as well. So I'm looking forward to it, man. The guys speak highly of Rossi, and he was always a pleasure for us to talk to and work with when he joined the Cubs that last year. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I see success in his future.
Eugene, the concern I have about the Cubs is what's happened to them the past couple of seasons, and that offense, as talented as it is, has been pretty erratic and inconsistent. Right. You see teams just going in slumps, and in a 60-game season, you go into a slump for about a week, you're going to be out the race in a minute. Yep. How do they correct that? Is that a mental thing, or is the change in management going to really kind of help them in that area?
Yeah, I think it's all of that. And you know me, I was a Joe Madden guy. I love Joe Madden. He was exactly what the Cubs needed to get them over the hump. But, change is good, man. Change is good. And I think they did need a mental reset. I think, the physical part of the game, people don't realize if you just the average baseball fan, which I'm not too sure there are a lot of those. I think if you're a baseball fan and you're really into it, it's not like basketball where you can kind of casually watch it. You have to kind of know the nuances of the game to really enjoy it and get to know it. So, I mean, if you know the game, man, it's 162 games in 184 days, man. Only the strong survive. And those guys made the playoffs for 4 years in a row, taking it all the way in 16. They won the division. I'm not sure if they won a division in 15. Well, I think they won a division in 15. They beat the Cardinals, the first series. So, playing 170 games a year, it's got to wear on you sooner than later. And there's no excuses. These guys get paid the big bucks. They're some of the best athletes in the world. So, there are no excuses. But being there firsthand, being able to talk to these guys, being able to know them, up close and personal, they'll tell you a couple things off the record that, you probably won't hear through regular media stuff. So, yeah, they were tired. They were mentally tired. They were physically tired. You could see some guys wearing down. Injuries like last year, Javier Baez didn't play the last bulk of games with a thumb injury. As we see now, Anthony Rizzo is having reoccurring back pains. Chris Bryant, he had 2 or 3 injuries the last couple of years. So, I think the reset is what they needed. Like I said, mentally, physically, in the dugout with David Ross. And might sound like a broken record, man, but 60 games. It's not 162. So it's time, man. It's time to show and prove, man.
Couple of things. I think you touched on some great points. Number one is that the injuries. Right now, you said Rizzo has the back spasm. Javier Baez was hurt last year. So I think injuries play a key in this run. And I think it's 60 games in 66 days.
Yeah.
So it depends on how your body gonna hold up.
Yeah.
Are you eating right? Are you getting good sleep? But let me ask you a question. So what about my man Chris Bryant's contract? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, man, we saw what happened over this past year, these past few months with him and his whole, the court case and, the businessman like Lance, you got your family is part of Chicago basketball history. So, about the business side, with you being coach of Chicago State and your brother having been in the league and then being an agent and with Nick and all his stuff, Mike. So, how the business side, kind of sours the other side. And I think Chris Bryant has done a great job. Chris Bryant, he's soft-spoken. He doesn't say much. He doesn't get in trouble off the field. But Chris Bryant is a really good guy. And, he's done his job. So I think he's done a great job of kind of, not letting the media take what he says and turn it into what, the media usually does. And, there have been talks about him saying that he didn't want to, he may not want to be here, for the long haul. But if you talk to Chris Bryant, again, off the record, he'll tell you that he loves Chicago. There's no place like Chicago. There are not too many, president of baseball operations guys like Theo Epstein who, have your best interest, look out for your best interest and take care of you like a guy like Theo, and not to forget Jed Hoyer and Jason McLeod and the other guys in the front office have done. So I think Chris Bryant is definitely going to get top dollar wherever he goes. But I hope he stays here. If there's a better third baseman in baseball, it's only Nolan Arenado in Colorado and the guy
Rendon.
from Washington who's now in Los Angeles.
Anthony Rendon.
Anthony Rendon.
Yeah.
I'm saying if, because when Chris Bryant is healthy and at his best, he's as good as they come, man.
And also, Eugene, I would add to that, Bryant is more versatile than those guys. You can throw him in left field and he'll do just fine out there as well.
Or you could or tonight.
So before we go to the south side, I got one more.
No, I was just saying, or tonight, like you mentioned his versatility with Rizzo out. Now Chris Bryant is like maybe one of the first baseman. He's playing first base tonight in the exhibition game against the White Sox. So I think his versatility definitely, gives him, a leg up on those other guys.
Got you. And so one of my favorite players on the Cubs is Wilson Contreras. I think he's the best offensive catcher in the league, in my personal opinion. Him throwing out Luis Robert last night in the exhibition game, and we know Robert is fast, and Contreras just threw a clothesline down to second base and gunned him down.
Jay, he threw a laser.
He threw
Brian
a laser.
had a jump too.
Yeah. So I mean, tell me a little bit about Wilson and how do you see the Cubs locking him up long term? Because I think, the catching position is a key defensively, but if you got one who can bring you that offensive pop too, you've got a gem.
Well, I'm from the old school, and the way we came up, baseball games and championships are won up the middle. So, your catcher, your pitcher, your middle infield, and your center fielder. So I think locking Willie up, I think may be a priority for the Cubs, but the only bad thing about this is somebody's going to have to go. Now, whether that's Rizzo, Chris Bryant, Javier Baez, Willie, who knows? But somebody won't be along for the long haul. So, but back to Willie, I do think that he's obviously been the starting catcher the last 2 years for the NL All-Star team. What I love most about Willie is the fact that he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's passionate. He gives it his all. He represents his home, and you can tell. You can see it. You can see it in his demeanor. And another guy that we've got to know, really well off the field. We get to see him in the clubhouse, and he's always a pleasure to talk to and get information from. So, and you guys mentioned his defense. Is no doubt that his arm and even his work ethic. Like, we watch him. They've been having summer camp the last month or so at Wrigley, and you watch them. After BP and after they take infield and outfield, the guys stick around to get the extra work in. And if you can see the work that Willie puts in after hours, you know exactly why it transfers to the field. So, man, I'm looking forward to seeing, because I think the Baez and Schwarber and Contreras, I think this may be their last years of arbitration. So they're going to have to sign deals after this year. So I'm eager to see how Theo Epstein keeps this team together.
So let me ask you this. Would you let Willie DH?
Well, he's going to DH some this year just because of the fact that, John Lester, I think, does John Lester prefer? Well, I think it may be Yu Darvish that throws to Caratini, but he mentioned that he would be DHing some. He doesn't mind sharing the catching position with Victor Caratini, because that's a trying spot back there, man. You need a few days off, and a guy like Willie, I'm pretty sure he'd play 162 if he could, Lance. So I would love to see him in the DH just to take some pressure off of him behind the plate to give him some extra legs.
Eugene, you said something there previously about how you win championships up the middle with your catching, your pitching, your shortstop, and your center fielder. And I know your coach at Chicago State, Terrence Jackson, had the absolute same philosophy. when I talked to TJ, he will always say, Jason, give me a shortstop, give me a center fielder, give me catcher, give me pitcher. And how Coach T talk.
I got you. So I heard your voice message right before we jumped on, and when you said Coach Jackson, I had to think back, and I'm like, the only Coach Jackson I know is Terrence Jackson, and I have not heard from T in years, man. When you talk to him, tell that brother I said much love and what's up, man. Hit his boy up, man. I love to talk to my old coaches, man.
Yeah, without a doubt. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on the South Side. We got a few more minutes left in this segment, and Eugene's gonna come back after the break. But let's talk the White Sox. Everybody's talking about them now. They are, we're finally starting to see all this talent that they've been piling up down the minor leagues come to the major leagues. And we've been getting some previews here a little bit, but now I think everybody's kind of ready to see what this team is going to do this year, even in this shortened season. What are your thoughts on this 2020 White Sox team?
Well, I was telling somebody yesterday, because I'm the Cubs. I'm on the Cubs beat. My partner Terrence Tomlin, he's on the White Sox beat. So, and he's a Sox fan. Growing up, he's a Sox fan. Growing up, I'm a Cubs fan. I mean, I love the White Sox too. It's Chicago or nothing with me anytime. But Cubs and Sox, I got to take the Cubs. He takes the Sox. So we were talking yesterday, and I was just telling him, like, Tim Anderson, Yoan Moncada, Jose Abreu, Ed Encarnacion, Jimenez, Luis Robert, with the addition of James McCann and a couple other guys, man, that's a scary lineup if them guys are hitting on all cylinders. So I'm eager to see those guys put it together for this 60 games. Again, I think the pitching, I think is going to be a league-wide issue, but I'm interested to see how the pitching pans out. Michael Kopech opting out, Dylan Cease, supposedly coming around. You got Gio Gonzalez, and then we got Lucas Giolito, probably as the ace this year. So, hey, they're looking good for me, man. They're looking good for me, like you mentioned. The call-ups, all the guys that they've basically homegrown talent. I'm looking forward to seeing these guys put it all together and give us a Subway Series, man.
I think kind of like you were saying, Gene, I get concerned about the pitching first and foremost because I used to pitch. And with that being said, though, man, you have to be able to make guys hit ground balls.
Right.
And you have to be able to throw strikes. But who do you think that their closer would be? Like, who do you think is the man this year? I know you talked about Cease. I like him. Who do you think who do you think the closer would be for them this year?
That's a good question, man. I didn't even think about that, Lance. There's so much. There's so many eyes on the starting pitching that I haven't even looked or paid attention to the bullpen. So I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm gonna do the knowledge on that once we get off of this. Once we get off of this video, but the starters, man. The starters, they got to be able to get deep into the game so you can keep the heat off of the relievers.
Man, exactly, because the one thing that is that their offense is potent. I mean, watching them play, they got guys who could really hit. I think the one that I've been really looking at is Luis Roberts. Like, I didn't know he was that fast, Jay. Yeah. And then the one thing I didn't know, that man has some jewelry on his neck also. That man jewelry is ridiculous.
He got a Mr. T starter set.
Oh, he has a starter set. But, man, I mean, I like the way their team is shaping up, though. But time will tell. It's a short season, so anything can happen, especially when you're young like they are. But people don't want to hear young during the season, though. So
no, they don't. But it's good that as far as I'm concerned, there are no expectations. If you want to look at it with, like you said, with most of those guys, with even Eloy. I mean, he did play. He was a rookie last year, but he still got some work to do. He still got a lot of growing to do. So, I'm interested to see with, the growth of Tim Anderson being leading the league in batting last year and now becoming a vocal leader as well as a leader on the field. Yoan Moncada growing into himself at third base. The veteran Jose Abreu, adding a guy like Ed Encarnacion and, James McCann and guys like that. I think once they put it all together, they could definitely mesh well and be a problem for the AL Central, man.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, you're watching What's Up, Cuz. I'm your host, Jason Palmer, along with my guest co-host, Lance Irvin. We're being joined by Eugene McIntosh of the Bigs. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more with Eugene about the White Sox. And then Lance, Eugene, and myself, we're all going to give our predictions on what we see this 2020 baseball season happening.
Yes, sir.
Come back with us. Welcome back, everybody, to What's Up, Cuz. I'm your host, Jason Palmer. I'm being joined by my guest co-host and my cousin, Lance Irvin. And we're talking to Eugene McIntosh from the Bigs. He does some great work. He covers all sorts of sports, but I know baseball is his favorite. And Eugene, let me just ask you a little bit about Tim Anderson and his style of play. I think when Tim first came into the league a couple of years ago, and he really was getting into a lot of arguments with the umpires, and then, he started hitting home runs and people were mad about him, bat flipping and all that. And he just said, hey, I'm out there to have fun. I'm trying to encourage more people from my community to play the game. And, this is the way we play. I mean, we all played on the South Side. All three of us did. And, talking stuff is part of the game where we grew up and, showing some excitement and love for the game. Talk a little bit about Tim Anderson's style. And do you think people are starting to become more accepting of it?
Well, I want to start it off just by saying, man, it's hard to be black and play in the major leagues. I want to give you guys some story about Addison Russell that played for the Cubs.
Yeah.
I talked to Addie maybe a couple years ago, and he was one of the guys. I make it a point to myself, especially in the major leagues, with there not being a lot of black players. Anytime there's the opposing team comes in town and they got any black players on their team, I make sure I go over there and I introduce myself just to let them know that I'm here and, I appreciate them, giving us, a place in the game. So even with the Cubs, when Carl Edwards Jr., if you guys follow back then, CJ was one of our guys. Like he was, we got real close with him. Jason Hayward, now he's another close friend of ours. Anything we need, he said, don't hesitate to hit him up. But with Addison Russell, man, so we got close with Addie, so I would get to talk to him a lot of stuff off the record. And this is off the record, but he's gone now, and it doesn't even matter. This is real talk. So I noticed him. I would just notice his demeanor, and something was off about him. So, I talked to him, one time I caught him outside of the clubhouse and we just had a talk, and I just, I kept it real with him. I said, Addie, man, what's good, man? You look like it's something on your mind or something bothering you. And he was like, he kind of shook his head. And, when you like one of two black players in the clubhouse, you kind of have to be reserved, to a certain extent. So come to find out, he was having problems being himself. He said, when he comes out of the dugout, I know you guys are familiar with St. Louis Cardinals great Ozzie Smith.
Sure.
And when Ozzie Smith used to come out the dugout, the backflip, there you go. Simple and plain. So he said he wanted to, imitate Ozzie Smith and do a backflip onto the field, but he wasn't sure how baseball purists and even, his own club, maybe the people in the front office or even some of his teammates would respond. And it was crazy to me, but then I had to think about it. I'm like, well, that's not too crazy to think about because, again, you don't know. And it's not like he was an all-star. He did make the all-star team as a starter, but he didn't have that star power that a guy like Ozzie Smith, who probably didn't care. And baseball was different in the 80s. There were plenty of black players.
Yes.
The Cardinals, Willie McGee, Ozzie Smith, and, all of those guys, the Cubs, Sean Dunston, Leon Durham, Sarge Gary Matthews. So there were more guys that, kind of maybe had your back, if you want to put it that way. But, it was kind of weird that he said that. And I just told him, I'm like, look, dude, you're not going to be in this game forever. So you need to do whatever you feel like you need to do to be yourself, because not being yourself will weigh on you physically, emotionally, and mentally, and it's going to take away from your game. And I'm not sure if that's what led to him not being here now. He had the domestic violence allegations, and, he served that suspension with that, which was his ultimate demise. But I'm not sure if, that played a part in everything. But, it's tough being black and being able to do you. So going back to Tim Anderson, I'm so glad to see Tim just coming into his own as a guy from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, who, it's in our blood. Like you said, growing up playing baseball on the South Side, talking jive and being who we are. That's a part of our game. So I'm glad Tim hasn't shied away from that. And the fact that he was batting champion last year, it gave him the gall to be like, you know what, forget what y'all talking about. Either honor me or don't. But I'm going to do me because that's what's gotten me to where I am now. And I think, you know, baseball fans and baseball purists, they're going to either have to same way, love it or leave him alone. But, you know, him being a star and being one of the star players for the Sox and taking on the brunt of what the South Side means to a black baseball player, I think that exudes him. You know, it's coming out of his pores when you look at him and you see him on the field and, you know, just his interactions and the things he does in the community. I don't know if you guys saw him a couple weeks ago, but he was over there on 64th in Parkway Gardens with one of the local rappers.
TA, good.
Yeah.
So,
he was.
you know, so just that alone, man, I'm glad to see TA finding himself and being exactly what we need, that representation.
Yeah, he was actually right across the street from the Chicago Crusader offices. We're right there on 64th and King Drive. Yeah, we were aware of that. Lance, you had a question?
Let me ask you guys this. You was talking about Addison Russell. So how much is keeping it real versus being yourself or doing what the public think that you should do? One thing I always say is that, man, you need to have fun out there. You want to be yourself, and it's a tough situation. So, but man, eventually I think you need to go out there and be yourself. And at the end of the day, I mean, ask somebody. If you don't think it's right, ask somebody. But it's always somebody doing something somewhere that somebody said that they shouldn't be doing. So, I mean, it's a tricky situation. But man, I don't believe you can play without having some fun, without being yourself and stuff like that. And just listening to you, I'm like, man, that's a tough situation for them. But getting back to the White Sox, I think, man, they have a great team. If they can just put it all together, but like Jason said, though, it's how you jump out the gate. They have to come out the gate fast. All teams need to come out the gate fast in this short-lived season. I don't know how y'all feel, but I think, Jay, that was an excellent point that you brought up. You have to come out the gate fast because I tell you what, those Dodgers, they going to jump out the gate fast. and the Yankees, which you know every year, they jump out the gate fast.
Yeah.
So time will tell. I don't know how y'all feel about that. That's just Cousin Lance's 2 cents.
No, Cousin Lance, you on point, man. Like Jason said, if you go down a week, you lose 6-7 games in a row, it's a wrap. Point blank, period. It's over with. So I do think that, again, like I said from the beginning, with it being a 60-game series like last year, a team like the Seattle Mariners, who I'll look on ESPN and they talk about the AL West and they don't even mention the Seattle Mariners. But even a team like that, they can come out hot. They can start off 33-17 and win the AL West, you know, because that's just how this thing works. But yeah, man, you're gonna have to pay even more attention to detail now. You know, every pitch is gonna matter, every at bat is gonna matter. You know, every little nuance of the game, pinch running, you know, late game, small ball, whatever you can add to the game to get that victory that's going to be much needed. I think there are going to be many more eyes on that. So I agree with you 100%, Lance. You got to come out the gate firing away. And I think it's going to be a tight race all the way around the board. I think every division is going to be tight from top to bottom.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Eugene. And we'll get ready to get into our predictions here. But one other question I have for you, Eugene, before we get into our predictions. The White Sox and the Cubs are playing 6 times?
6 times.
6 times out of these 60 games. That's 10% of the schedule.
Yeah.
We know how intense those games are. And then most of the games are against your division foes. So, you know, you lose a game, it's going to be like losing 2.5, 3 games if you lose to a division foe. Talk to me just real quick about those Cubs-White Sox games. And, you know, early in the Crosstown series, people were saying, oh, it's for the fans. It doesn't matter that much. Well, it's going to mean a lot this year.
No, they matter. You can miss me with that. You know, these games are always going to matter. Even right now, even this exhibition game. Cubs and Sox fans are probably into it on social media or wherever they're watching the game in the bars or whatever. These games are always going to mean something. So I think it's interesting. I think that brings another interesting fact to the season is that, like you said, they're going to play 20 games against the AL Central. So that'll be interesting to see how they, match up against, that other side of the division. But man, it's nothing like the Crosstown Classic, man. It's nothing like it, and I think they should play 5. I think they should play 5 games apiece per year. In a 162 game season. I think it's good for the city. It's healthy for the fans, and these games always matter, man. So I'm looking for, and especially like you said, now these games could decide the division.
Yep.
So it's gonna be so crucial and so important to win the games that you need to win, because like you said, one loss is gonna feel like 2.5 or 3. So
yeah,
I'm ready, man. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for the season, man.
I just jumped on to pull up the score. White Sox 5, Cubs 0.
Oh, Eloy Jimenez hit a bomb off of Yu Darvish, man. Straight center field.
That's their alleged ace.
Yeah, all right.
That's their alleged ace. So let's go around the horn, guys. This is gonna be like a speed round. I'll just go around. I'll mention some divisions, and you guys tell me who you think are gonna win them. So let's start.
I don't know the divisions as well as
that's
you.
That's all right, man. I'll give you some clues. I always gotta carry you, man. Jesus Christ. So let's start in the AL West. AL West. We're talking about the Seattle Mariners, the Oakland Athletics, the Astros, the Rangers, and the Angels. Eugene, who do you see coming out of this AL West?
If I had to put my money on it, I would probably put my money on those cheaters, the Houston Astros. They did cheat, but you still got to hit the ball, field the ball, pitch the ball at the end of the day. They got Verlander. They still got that crazy lineup. So if I had to put my money on it, I would probably bet Houston. But I would love to see Joe Madden and Mike Trout make a playoff appearance, man.
Got you. Lance, who you got?
I was gonna go like Mike Trout, but like Eugene said, I think Houston. Like I said, I think Houston is really good. Plus, I like Verlander. I still think he was one of the top 10 pitchers out there, probably.
Yep.
Well, I agree with you guys. I'm gonna unfortunately have to go with the drum beating Astros, sending smoke signals and God knows what else. But like Eugene said, you still got to hit the ball. I think they definitely have the strongest team. Let's go out to what could arguably be the strongest division in baseball, the AL East. Out there, you got the Boston Red Sox, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Orioles from Baltimore, them damn New York Yankees, and the Toronto Blue Jays. Eugene, who you like out of the AL East?
The damn Yankees, man. You already know what they looking for. They got championship written all over their helmets this year, man. Stanton, Judge, they got Garrett Cole now. It's looking up for those guys. If they're healthy, they are gonna be on a mission. But I'm gonna have to go with the Yankees, man.
Lance, who you got?
I'm going with the Yankees. I talked about that the other day, and they went out and got Garrett Cole too.
Yeah,
come on, you gonna go get Garrett Cole?
Woo!
Come on, that's illegal. It should be.
I agree, man. I agree.
Hey, that's one thing I know.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go ahead and pick the All-Star Yankees. I mean, sometimes you got to go with the best horse in the race. When they had 1-5, that's the reason why they had 1-5. So
you know what? Say what you said again. Let me say this real quick. Sometimes talent comes into play.
That's right. I mean, barring a COVID outbreak in the whole Yankees franchise, I don't see anybody else coming out of AL East. So let's go. Let's go to the AL Central. AL Central. Here we go. We got the Kansas City Royals. You got the Detroit Tigers. You got the Cleveland Indians. You got the Minnesota Twins, and then you got our Chicago White Sox. Eugene, who you got coming out of the AL Central?
Chicago or nothing, man. Come on, White Sox. Let's see what y'all got. Plus, I think the AL Central. The AL Central was one of the better divisions in baseball, but I think they kind of fallen off lately, man. Cleveland ain't as good. Kansas City, after that one little year they had with Ben Zobrist and them, they ain't been nothing. The Tigers always suck. So the White Sox need to run away with this, man. Seriously.
But I'm gonna take the Sox, but the Twins now. It's a
Yeah.
lot of power. It's a lot
Yeah.
of power with those
Yep.
Twins now.
Yep.
They said the Sox was built to compete with the power of the Twins. I don't know.
Yep.
I gotta take the Sox. I'm not gonna do my hometown team like that, but the Twins is scary. Go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna go with the White Sox all the way on this. I think one thing about the Minnesota Twins, they are every other year team. Every other year they make their little run, and then this they off year. And also I think they are a little bit overrated. I don't think they're gonna be able to hit like that, like they did last year. Because first of all, I think the ball was juiced. I think that helped them. I think that helped them. So I think I'm gonna go with the White Sox. So let's head over to the National League and let's go out west. Let's start out west. Out west, you got the Giants, you got the Rockies, you got the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Mookie. Corey Bellinger. The Dodgers.
I think Lance is giving us his prediction.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna have to agree with Lance, man. If the Colorado Rockies could play 60 home games this year, I would go with the Rockies. But yeah, Cody Bellinger, Mookie Betts. That's bogus, man. Like Lance, like you said earlier, that's illegal. How you gonna add Mookie Betts to that already all-star team? So if the Dodgers don't win the NL West, they bogus, and Dave Roberts got to rotate.
I agree. I definitely gotta go with the Dodgers.
I love Dave Roberts. I voted for him for Manager of the Year last year, but he let me down. I mean, I know he doesn't pitch, catch, or bat, but if he don't get it done this year, man, he got to rotate, Lance.
Whoa.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm gonna go with the Dodgers too, just for the reasons you guys stated. Let's go out to the East, NL East. We got the Philadelphia Phillies, the Miami Marlins, the Atlanta Braves, the New York Mets, and the Washington Nationals. Eugene, who you got coming out of the NL East?
Woo. Well, the Nationals. I mean, they still, even with the loss of Anthony Rendon, I think didn't Ryan Zimmerman opt out this year? I think he opted out.
He did.
But they still got Max Scherzer. They still got Steven Strasburg. You know, they got the young guys. I forgot my young buddies, Jose, Julio. I can't think his name.
I know about left fielder. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, they still some to be reckoned with. But I'm looking to see Bryce Harper and those guys put it together, man. I want to see what he got out there in Philly. I'm looking for those guys to pull out the NL East, man.
Interesting choice. Lance, who you got?
Ooh, I kind of like the Nationals, though, because I like my pitching. I like Strasburg. I like my pitching. I'll take the Nationals.
Okay. And I'm going to go completely different. I like the Braves. I think Acuna is the best player by far in baseball right now.
Really? Wait, really?
I do.
I
do. I think he is a beast. I think he's gonna really spark this team. I like Alcides. I like the infielder. I like the Braves. I think for some reason they're gonna surprise a lot of people. I do think the National League East is the hardest division to pick. And I just think it's kind of a crapshoot, and I'm gonna go with the Braves.
Cousin, so you saying that man is better than that man in Milwaukee?
Yeah. First of all, Christian Yelich can't stay on the field because he always hurt.
But when he's on the field,
well, that's if it's a fifth, he ain't on the field. He gotta actually be on the field. Let's go to that last division, the NL Central. We got Pittsburgh. We got an up and coming Cincinnati team. We got St. Louis. We got the Cubs and the Brewers. Another stacked division, could be kind of hard to predict. Eugene, who you got coming out of that division that you cover a lot?
Well, I think the Pirates and the Cardinals didn't get any better in the offseason. I think, like you said, the Cincinnati Reds with Nick Senzel in center field, I think he's going to be a star this year. The additions of Nick Castellanos and our boy Pedro Strop, you know, that's going to take the Cincinnati Reds pretty deep. I think they'll probably come in second. The Brewers, they're going to have issues. Like you said, Yelich got to be able to stay on the field. They lost Moustakas. They lost Yasmani Grandal. Their pitching is kind of iffy. So I think they'll probably come in third. But I think the Cubs are probably they're my favorite. I think they're still the most talented team in the division. and they owe us. They owe the Chicago fans another trip, to the playoffs and possibly to the World Series. So I'm taking the Cubs, man.
Hey, my man just got off the show. I'm not going against Julian Green. I'm going to be politically correct tonight and take the Cubs.
Lance said, I want to broadcast from Wrigley Field. Screw what you're talking about.
I'm going to Wrigley Field. I'm going to sit there with my little cousin and watch the ball game. So, Julian Green, I'm taking the Cubs. I need my hat.
Well, I'm not politically correct. But what I will not do is I will not show up at Wrigley Field wearing Sox gear like a lot of my fans do when they come to Guaranteed Rate Field. But I'm not going to do y'all like that. I'll wear some like neutral colors like neon yellow or something. But I'm going to, the NL Central for me is hard. I agree with you, Eugene. I don't think Pittsburgh and St. Louis did anything to improve themselves. Milwaukee, I think those losses are going to hurt them. The Cubs hitting is so doggone inconsistent. I'm going to go ahead and roll with Cincinnati out of here, but it could be anybody's division, that NL Central. So with that said, guys, tell me who you've got coming out of the National League, who you got coming out of the American League. In other words, who do you guys have in the World Series? Eugene, we'll start with you.
Hey, I'm a homer, man. I'm putting it in the atmosphere. A lot of things that I've put in the atmosphere over my life, they've come to fruition. So Cubs, White Sox, Subway Series, they owe the city. It's been too long. We need something to get us out of this dark, gloomy light that we've been in since this whole COVID situation and sport not having any sports. So I'm looking forward to going back and forth to U.S. Cellular or Guaranteed Rate, in Wrigley Field for a 7-game series, Cubs, White Sox World Series, man.
Wow. Lance Irvin, who you got?
My heart is saying Cubs, Sox, but my head is saying Dodgers, Yankees.
Yep. I'm there with you, Lance.
Okay. All right. So you got a Subway Series too. You just got on the East. You just got a East Coast, West Coast Subway Series. They're gonna take the Amtrak series for you. Yeah, I think that's the obvious pick. It's definitely Yankees, Dodgers. That's who I think it's going to be. But I'm also down with Eugene in this crazy season. I think something special is about to happen on the South Side. I would not be surprised if the White Sox made it to the World Series. Because my thing is, they're so young, they don't know any better.
Right.
So that if they actually start winning, that, they going to have that rebellious mentality of, well, who says we can't win at all? We've gotten this far. I do think they're probably a year ahead of themselves of winning a World Series, but I can go with that. But I'm going to go with Yankees, Dodgers. Well, Eugene, thank you so much for joining us, brother. I guarantee you we are definitely going to have you back as this season progresses. And, just tell everybody real quick where they can find your work.
Hey, before we get out of here, I wanted to ask Lance one quick question, Jason.
Okay, yeah.
Man, Lance, it's been dope. Again, anybody that knows Chicago basketball history, I went to school with Twan, so I've been knowing you and the family and Nick. I played against Nick when he was at St. Martin. So anybody that ain't been living under a rock for the last however many years knows that the Irvin family is a huge part of Chicago basketball history, and I'm happy to see you finally getting your just due as a head coach over there at Chicago State. I got to come to cover a couple of the games last year. And I want to see you guys come up. I want to see you take them guys to the next level. But, man, I got a question for you. One of my buddies, my boy Coach Walt, is one of your assistants, man. What type of asset is Walt to you guys, and what do you see for him in his future as a coach in this thing?
Walt is a bright young coach, and the sky's the limit for him. And kind of like I had to do when I was young, he just needs to learn. That's all. Just need to learn and just need to keep on grinding. That's all.
Gotcha. Well, once again, Eugene, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you. Check him out with the bigs, y'all. Check out Eugene.
Hey, I appreciate y'all, brothers. Anytime you need me, man, hit me up. I'm here for y'all. We all we got. And y'all know the hashtag. If y'all follow me, it's us, man. So we got to stick together, push each other forward, and keep this thing moving, man.
Gotcha. Thanks a lot.
Love, brothers.
Yep.
Peace.
So, Lance, wow, that was a quick 2 hours, man.
Man.
That was a quick 2 hours for our second show. I was thinking about something earlier today, man. I was thinking about your mother and my mother.
What was you thinking about?
I heard Aunt Louise's voice. I can hear her talking to my mother up in heaven. You know what your mom said?
What'd she say, cuz?
She probably said, Verb, how the hell these two Negroes get a phone? Because you know that's the way your mother gonna say it. And my mother would sit there and shake her head and say, girl, I have no idea.
You know what? They all sitting there just smiling like these two, but they happy because it's family. One thing I know, they up in heaven eating good, though. You know they are eating good.
Man. You know they are, man. But I know they sitting up there like, how in the world they get these fools a platform? But
I thought she was about to get super serious. I'm sitting there looking like,
nah, but just for our second show, once again, I want to thank our guests, man. We've got some great guests that's gonna be coming on all these shows, but our guy Bob from down there in the Negro League Museum.
Oh, he was great.
Oh my God. I mean, you and I have both been down there. I took my wife down there with me, and just the history of it. You don't even have to like baseball, but you can appreciate Black culture. You got to go down there. They got interactive stuff for the kids. There's actually a jazz museum that's adjacent to it. So if you go in the Negro League Museum, you can also kind of get in the Jazz Museum at a reduced price. And I would definitely go in there and check out Ella Fitzgerald and all the great jazz musicians of our community. So thanks, Bob, for coming on. Julian Green from the Chicago Cubs. He's a brother in one of them front office positions. Lance, we tell people all the time, you don't have to be on the field, man.
No, it's more than just being on the field. And I'm happy Julian came out here and at least let everyone know like the stuff that he does. He's definitely doing a great job.
Yeah, he without a doubt.
Somebody that looks like us doing great things.
And Eugene McIntosh, and I didn't touch on it enough, what Eugene is doing. He is a member of the Baseball Writers Association. That's a very powerful group of journalists who cover baseball. Those are the people who vote on who's going into a Hall of Fame. He had mentioned it, in his talk, about he voted for Joe Madden for Manager of the Year. When you hear these MVP votes, those are the people who do it. And to have brothers like Eugene, young brothers like Eugene, who've gotten to that level, that's huge in our industry. So I'm going to go ahead and close out this last minute here with our final thought. My final thought is I want to say happy birthday. I want to say happy birthday to somebody who's very special for baseball and very special in the African-American community. And I need to change hats real quick, so bear with me here.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Gotta represent the right way to talk about this woman. It's my Brooklyn Dodgers hat that I will wear. Rachel Robinson, the wife of Jackie Robinson, turned 98 years old yesterday. I read the book. I know what that family had to go through when Jackie became the first Negro League player in the Major League Baseball. He had a good woman standing next to him. So happy birthday, Mrs. Robinson. I hope you have many more. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. I'm Jason Palmer with Lance Irvin. We'll see you next week. Peace.